Hello everyone, happy Wednesday. I hope you are amazing and that you're having a great week. I want to jump on today and I want to talk about 3 tools that you can use that are going to help you get out of a state of inaction. Inaction sometimes comes with fear or overwhelm, or is laced in all the doubts and limiting beliefs that we have. So the things that keep us stuck, so move from that place into action, and then inaction where we find confidence and willpower and things like that. This idea comes up after a few conversations with clients and ex-clients, and I found myself saying to one of them that really there is no micro step between wanting something to be different and actually doing the thing that you know you need to do. So there's some tough love here, is that truly for things to change, we have to just step up and make them change, right? We can wish all we want, we can read all the books, we can do all the courses, but knowledge is useless unless we put it into action. So when I said this, it kind of rattled around with me that I had a question in my mind. I was like, well, are there little micro things we can do between doing nothing to doing something? Because I'd written it off as you've just got to do it, just like the Nike slogan, just do it, which in the bigger scheme of things, that is absolutely true. There's no one going to make it happen for us. We have to do it for ourselves. But I sat with this for a little bit longer, and I have now had a good think about it, and I have 3 simple tools, steps you can take to really, really work with the things that keep us stuck in inaction, and get you moving. Because it's like I said to one of my clients, was the hardest part is when we're really, really stuck in not doing something, and we've wanted to do something for ages, or we've wanted it to change for so long. We're kind of in this state of inertia, and to get going, it's kind of like trying to give a rocket. It needs some serious fuel to kind of lift off the ground. And that can feel overwhelming, and that can feel really, really hard, especially if you've been telling yourself a whole bunch of stories along the way. So I just wrote some notes because I want to be clear about what I'm telling you. So what normally is it that stands in our way? What is it keeping us in inaction? It is our mind. That's what it is. And you might be like, oh no, sometimes for me it's because I don't have enough money or I don't have enough time. So let me tell you something about that. That's a story made up by your mind. So first things first, what's standing in our way? It's our mind. It's the stories we tell ourselves, and those stories on repeat become the beliefs we have about ourselves, about our circumstances, about our situation. It's also then habits that we formed because of this ingrained belief. So, that we can't do something, and this habit that I'm a lazy person or whatever it is. And then fear is another thing, and the fear is also a construct of the mind. So really, really, really checking in with here. We start here. So the first tool to get you out of inaction, start to move into action, is when you're sitting there wishing that things were different, knowing that you know what you need to do to change things. Sitting there knowing I should be doing, and it comes back to this should word, I should be doing these things, and I know that if I did them, I would feel differently, my life would look differently, it would look different. Start here. What are the stories I'm telling myself about that are stopping me from actually taking action? Massive ones are the stories we've been telling ourselves on repeat about our ability, our financial circumstances, how much time we have. It's a story. Check in with it. And what I want you to do to check in with it is to really sit with the story, listen to what is being played over and over in your mind, what you're saying to yourself. Hi, Mum, I love you too. And ask yourself, is this story true? And then if it's a belief that you've come to form because of these continuously repeated stories, is this belief true? I recently had this experience myself, telling myself I'm not creative. I just spent a couple of hours writing different yoga sequences to then record for my website. And it really got me quite excited, but I still had this nagging story in my mind the entire time I was writing them that I'm not creative. You can't do this. You don't know how to do this. And I sat there and I was like, this is really annoying. This is really annoying. Like, I don't want to listen to this right now. I'm trying to be creative. So I sat there and I said to myself, is this story true? And I sat there and I looked at my pieces of paper and I was like, well, no, I've just written three very different, fun, maybe just in my opinion, but fun yoga sequences. I just created them. And then I sat there and I went a little bit further and I'm like, well, where does this story come from? And that's the next layer of that question, is really digging underneath that story, underneath that belief, to see, where did I get this? And then, of course, for me, that comes back to some insecurities from when I was younger. And then it's just really about sitting with that and being like, oh, okay, I recognize that. And I see that that's an old wound. It's from the past, but it's not true for me anymore. And it's just really a process of awareness of where these things come from. When we have an awareness of them and when we are able to look at them from a very different perspective rather than being caught up in the story, we're able to step back and go, well, okay, I see that's not true. I can take some action despite that. So step one is to address the beliefs and the stories. Ask yourself, is it true? And then once you've gleaned that it isn't, because you'll look around you and you'll find the proof that it's not, ask the deeper question of, where does this story come from? And then just really be with that part of yourself that has a wound or is a bit hurt, and usually it's an insecurity or something like that, and just give yourself some love and like, oh, I see that. But I realize that that's not true for me right now. Then you're going to skip to step 3, but we're going to get to that. So that's step 1. Step 2 is, what if you were willing to have these beliefs, these stories, and these feelings anyway? So what I want you to do in this tip or tool is to literally get out a piece of paper. And I want you to write down, what are the things you keep thinking? Is it that, if I take this course, it might not work for me, or if I sign up for the gym, I'll never go, it'll be a waste of money. What are the stories that you're telling yourself on repeat? What are the feelings that you have that stop you from taking action? Often it is like, especially around working out perhaps, or changing the way you eat. I'm never going to stick to it. And I don't know what you feel when you feel that. But anyway, what are the feelings that come with that? Write this down. What are the sensations that I might have? Do I get anxious? Do I get nervous? Do I get jittery? What are those things? Or what are the urges that I have that stop me from doing these things? And an urge is often to do the opposite, like tidy my house when I should be working out, or search the internet, get on social media. What are the things that stand in my way? And then I want you to say to yourself, what of those am I willing to have? And then still take action. So you might write down and say, well, I'm willing to have the thought that this is going to be hard and I'm never going to stick to it. And you make an agreement with yourself to say that I'm willing to have that thought. And when I recognize I'm having that thought, I'm going to say this to myself and remind myself of this instead. So your next question you're going to write down, I'm willing to have this thought. And when I have this thought, I'm going to remind myself that I really enjoy the feeling of eating good food, if it's a diet change that you're talking about, or I really do enjoy feeling strong and healthy, and I want to change, my weight or how I look, and it makes me feel good. Reminding yourself of that, so that you're going to have this thought that you've had in the past that stops you in your tracks, and you're opening yourself up to allow yourself to have that thought. In the moment, you're going to remind yourself why you've made the commitment to having the thought, and what it is that is your deeper why of what you want to make these changes. And then you're going to take some action. So this really brings us to step number 3. When you feel overwhelmed by taking any kind of action, and you feel stuck, and you've got the stories, you've got the beliefs coming in, you've got these ingrained habits of not doing anything, and you've got fear coming up around taking action, what is the tiniest little step that you could possibly take? And I'm talking like micro. It can be writing a list of, often for me it's business related things. Like I write lists if I need to, like, just make it feel like I've made progress, or send an email to somebody, connecting with them to like have a deeper conversation about something, or it is about going onto a website and getting some information that I'm looking for to help me take away the anxiety of what it is I want to do. So what I think is really important in number 3 is, what is the tiniest little step or action I can take to relieve this feeling or this sensation or this story, or to appease it in some way, even if the action itself causes me some sort of anxiety. And I get this a lot, like I'm trying to push my limits and my boundaries here. And often when you are trying to change, you'll feel that thing as well. Like maybe it's anxiety, maybe it's like, it's more fear of taking this little action. But it's again, agreeing with yourself that I'm gonna do this anyway, even though it feels scary, because the second you take that micro little step, you've kind of like just chipped away a little bit at that fear or that anxiety, and you're like, oh, that wasn't so bad. What next tiny little step could I take? And it's like, really, if you really need to just creep, break it down to micro little steps that you can take. So while I did say to my client last week that there are no micro steps or little in between steps between not doing something and doing something, there actually are. There are 3 little tiny tools that you can break down 0 to action. And that's number 1 is checking in with the thoughts, the stories, the beliefs, the fear running through your mind that's keeping you in inaction. Asking yourself, is this true? Finding all the proof in your life that no, it's not. And then looking underneath that story to say, where does this come from? Just to get, in touch with yourself, show yourself a little bit of tenderness, compassion, and self-love, and realize that there's a part of you that has, a wound or needs some love. And it's like, just give yourself a little love. And then number 2, what if you were willing to have these feelings anyway and write them out? I'm willing to have this thought that keeps running through my mind. I'm willing to have this feeling. I'm willing to have this sensation. I'm willing to have this urge. And when I do, I'm going to remind myself of X, Y, and Z, my why around why I want to do this thing, why I want to make this change, why I want to do this scary thing, right? And then the 3rd thing is really break it down to micro, tiny little steps. What could you do to literally appease the feeling or the thought? It doesn't have to be the actual action you want to take. You're like, step right back. What can I do to just take this layer of feeling away to open me up to the possibility of taking action? So they're my 3 tools for you to help you move from not doing the things you want to do, putting into place the things you want to put into place, and then getting to feel the way you want to feel. Because it's not about having the confidence beforehand. It's not about having the willpower beforehand. It is not about having happiness first. You have to do the thing. You find the confidence in the action of doing the thing. You find more willpower, or any willpower, once you get going and things start to shift. You find happiness in the doing of the thing. You find relief when you actually do the thing. So help yourself out. Try those 3 little tools to get you from inaction to action and start to feel the way you want to feel. That's it for me on a Wednesday. I hope you enjoyed this talk. If you did, I'd love a thumbs up. If you know someone that would benefit from seeing it, I'd love you to share it. And I'd also love to hear your comments and feedback. Did any of this resonate with you? What are you going to try? Have you tried those steps before? Let me know. I love hearing from you. Have an amazing Wednesday. Bye.